when you can't share fun times with people, it stinks. To go out on the field on Saturday night football, Thursday night football, Sunday night football, Monday night football, national TV in Las Vegas, and have no one there, it's tough. It's disappointing. Not to have any friends, it gets lonely. But I'm like everybody else. I share in the responsibility of beating this virus and staying positive and knowing at the end, good times are ahead. But it's a great city. We can't wait to be a part of it.
I'm going to be completely honest with you. I'm tired of being disrespected. So there was no question I was going to play this year.
We are now the Las Vegas Raiders.
Welcome to the Vegas Nation Blitz. I'm your host, Heidi Fang, filling in for Cassie Soto. She'll be back next week. She's out on vacation for this one, but we're going to talk here about the Raiders' 26-25 loss to Miami and the 7-8 season that I know they did not anticipate on having. And joining me to discuss that is Vinny Bonsignor, our Raiders beat writer. Vinny, we had to talk about, first of all, what went wrong here with the Raiders in this game? They are officially eliminated from playoff contention after their 26-25 loss to the Miami Dolphins. Vinny, first of all, welcome, and wow, big devastating news there for the Raiders not to make the playoffs, but some of the players in Week 17, we may be able to look forward to getting some evaluation on some of the guys, but others will not be playing. What can you tell us about some of the injuries and updates?
Yeah, it looks like Cleve Farrell is not going to play with a shoulder injury. It's, in his case, I felt like Cleve took a big step forward in his second year. I think there's a lot to build on. What he's put on film this year is good news for the Raiders moving forward. No real reason to push him and maybe further that injury and kind of sabotage his offseason. So they're going to wrap him up in bubble wrap and unwrap him. Hopefully with a regular offseason starting in OTAs, but he's going to be out. They'll get word on Eric Harris and Darryl Worley, Nick Kwiatkowski, all of whom missed last week's game, being on the COVID list. So hopefully they'll get some reinforcements in their eye. They really want to get as many of these defensive players back as possible in order for, again, this defense to build chemistry and to finish on a strong note. A pretty decent effort on Saturday against the Miami Dolphins, but unable to finish. And I think they want to try to at least use Sunday, this last game of the season, to help create that foundation that they're going to take into next year. Although probably not going to be with Rod Marinelli as the defensive coordinator. We'll see where all that is headed.
Thanks, Vinny. And I'm sure that the Raiders are also looking forward to getting back their defensive backs coaches. Several of those coaches were also on the COVID-19 list. But what can you tell us as we look ahead here to Denver? What insights do you have on this game as the Raiders look to close out the season on a high note?
Yeah, again, I know that the Raiders want to finish strong. If they could get to 8-8, they've been saying this for a couple of weeks now. Try to win 9 games, try to win. Now it's 8 games. Try to make the playoffs. That's not a possibility anymore. But the feeling, the sense that I get inside their building is that there's frustration, disappointment, no doubt about it, but also, a realization that it's not as far off as it might seem based on the record. 3 times over the last, about 6 weeks or so, the offense left the field in overtime, under a minute to play, actually 19 seconds to play, and just over a minute left to play with the lead, and the other team scored on their last possession to win games. You reverse that. If the defense can just get some stops, or could have gotten some stops in those 3 games, you're talking about a 10-win team right now going to win their 11th game on Sunday, or try to win their 11th game on Sunday. That's kind of like the fine line that they're dealing with, and they understand a lot of improvements need to happen defensively for those losses, those 3 losses, to turn into wins next year. But they understand that there's a lot of work to do. Not as far off as it might seem, but really want to finish this season strong on Sunday.
In other news, the Washington football team released quarterback Dwayne Haskins a day after he was benched during a loss to the Carolina Panthers. NFL.com, citing anonymous sources, reported that the league plans to expand the regular season to 17 games starting in 2021. Los Angeles Rams quarterback Jared Goff had surgery on his broken thumb on Monday and will not play in the regular season finale against the Arizona Cardinals. The NFL fined the Baltimore Ravens $250,000 for their COVID-19 outbreak last month, but did not take away any of the team's draft picks. Joining me now here on the Vegas Nation Blitz to get us caught up on everything happening with social media is Leandre Fox. Leandre, what do you have for us this week?
Saturday was not a good day for the Raiders, and obviously there was a little bit of Fitz magic that happened. Ryan Fitzpatrick came in late in the game and led the Dolphins to victory. And ESPN posted on their social media platforms they had Ryan Fitzpatrick as Thanos, saying he is inevitable. And unfortunately for the Raiders, Saturday kind of ended like Infinity War and not like Endgame.
Well, I don't know if he has all the stones yet, Fitzmagic. He might just have one or two of them, enough to do some damage, but not enough to end the world or take it all completely over for the Miami Dolphins. But Leandre, you also sent us something from a former Review Journal writer here, Miles Simmons, who's now with Pro Football Talk. His was pretty interesting take here on Star Wars with the Raiders. What do you have for us there?
Well, it's something I've been thinking about all season, but I didn't want to be that guy. The Raiders are new here. I didn't want to be that guy to kind of point this out. And I don't even like Star Wars like that to be like matter-of-factually about this. But the Death Star blew up. That's not a good name for your home stadium. The Death Star blew up in Star Wars. That's like one of the most memorable things about that franchise. So Miles pointed out, hey, the Raiders are 2-6 at home, and that's probably why they named it the Death Star. They're not very good at home. It's a really big point that we should have probably put we probably should have nipped that in the bud early in the season and said we shouldn't call it the Death Star. The Death Star blew up.
Great point. Not only once, but twice. They were rebuilding it, and then again. It's like it just keeps happening to the Death Star. I think you're right. I think it needs a new name. Let's move on to this other tweet that you have here, and it's one of my favorite sports follows because Crying Jordan has it all, and they're so quick. I don't know how everybody gets these things ready, but Leandre, break this one down for us.
Not really much to break down, Heidi. It's one of the most notable sports gifs, sports takes, sports pictures. It's really just sports and social media coming together. Crying Jordan is a meme that everybody knows. It's used for everything. It's going to last forever and ever and ever. So for the last Blitz, last social media, Crying Jordan, the Raiders eliminated. Unfortunately, this season wasn't for them. 2021, let's hope it's better because 2020 was rough for all of us.
Definitely. So things can only go up. There's only one way to go right now. And as you can see, if you see this look here on that logo, they got even the skeleton hand with Jordan there. And that kind of reminds me of Pirates of the Caribbean when they have them turning into skeletons when they see the sunlight. So, or is it the moonlight? One or the other. I can't remember. Johnny Depp. You all know the movie. Check it out. But Leandre, thank you so much for updating us here with all of that. And we'll be back here on the Vegas Nation Blitz with more. Before Darren Waller, which Raiders tight end held the team record for catches in a season? A. David Casper, B. Raymond Chester, C. Todd Christensen, D. Jared Cook.
Stay on the winning page with Fan Fave Las Vegas Review Journal to receive Vegas Nation content, plus breaking news, local entertainment, and lifestyle coverage. For only 99 cents a week, you'll get home delivery plus unlimited access to LVRJ.com. However you like it, whenever you like it. Award-winning content, all at your fingertips. Subscribe today at mylvrj.com/superfan.
Our Vegas Nation podcast keep you up to date with all things Raiders. Get your week going with First and 10 on Mondays featuring Sam Gordon and Vinny Bonsignor.
Who can you count on to make a big play when you need one?
Wednesdays, Heidi Fang brings you in-depth interviews with Raiders players and personalities.
You know it's a great challenge.
On Fridays, get your dose of Raiders talk and musings from Ed Graney and Adam Hill with unsportsmanlike conduct.
Should there be any discipline? No.
people are going to get it, and that's fine.
Vegas Nation, fast takes, smart coverage. Welcome back to the Vegas Nation Blitz. I'm your host, Heidi Fang, joined with our Review Journal sports columnist, Ed Graney. We're going to talk here a little more in depth about what's going on with the 7-8 Raiders. Obviously, Ed, as I say that, it's not where they want to be. But when you start looking at this season, I don't want to fully recap it yet because it's not over, but let's look at John Gruden. What do you think might be going through his head as they look ahead to the end of the season and where they are right now?
Heidi, it has to be disappointment. I think the first year he came in and really thought he was going to, knock it down, rebuild it, start the building blocks. Last year, they go 7-9. I really think this year, I was talking to owner Mark Davis yesterday, they really believe there was a chance this year to make a move and to get to the playoffs. So the fact that the best they can do is 8-8, they're not going to make the playoffs. I think with Coach Gruden, it's disappointment. With Mike Mayock, it's disappointment. With Mark Davis, it's disappointment. Mark Davis told me yesterday, it starts from the top of the food chain. It starts with him. He's got to do a better job. So I think they all came into this season knowing they were going to be young in spots, especially, some spots on defense, Henry Ruggs on offense. But still, I think they thought they had enough to where they would get to the playoffs and compete once they got there. And at 6-3, they probably really felt good about that. But now we know what has happened in the second half of the season. So I'd have to say the one word is just disappointment right now, going to Denver with no chance of the playoffs. And really the best they can do, obviously, is 8-8.
The 2020 season was really difficult, I think, for a lot of the rookies to adjust, to get used to the NFL, just because they were missing some crucial time in the offseason program. How much of an effect do you think that this virus has had on this team from the offseason to during the season?
Well, I think it affected them like it did everyone. There were no off seasons, and rookies, those are huge. Those OTAs, those rookie camps, learn what a professional is, how to be a professional. This has been a hard year throughout the league. Some handled it better than others, obviously. Obviously, some handled it a lot better than the Raiders did. But sure, when you just talk about football and the X's and O's of football and preparing yourself, there's no question that a lot of the young players and the rookies didn't get the annual normal, traditional, welcome to the NFL. This is how you play. This is what this level is about. But you know what? Again, no excuses in this league. It's the no excuse league. I was speaking to Lincoln Kennedy the other day, the broadcaster, former offensive lineman for the Raiders, who was in the Super Bowl with them, anchored that offensive line in the 2002 season. And he even said the same thing. He goes, look, it's a hard year. It's really hard to be overly critical because it's been such a crazy year, but no moral victories, no excuses. You are graded and based on your performance. And for the Raiders, it just hasn't been good enough this year.
Well, let's talk about that. You are writing that for this coming up weekend here. It'll be in the paper on the weekend. And Ed, what can you tell us about that article?
Yeah, you know what? We're going to take a look at the past and the present. No team, Heidi, I think you and I would agree in sports, does a better job bridging their past with the present, meaning the alumni coming back and showing young guys and even veterans what it was like back in the day when they were the winningest team in pro football. People forget that. That wasn't just a moniker. They were the winningest team in pro football there in the 60s and 70s. It's no longer like that. So I've gone back and I've talked to a lot of those guys who played during that time, and then guys who played later on, like Lincoln, who played in the Super Bowl, and asked them what they think about what's happening today. They're disappointed. 18 years and 17 with no playoffs, Heidi, that's not good. So the story's really going to look at what it meant to be a Raider then compared to what it means to be a Raider now, and we'll have that in Sunday's newspaper.
Well, as we look, like you said, with the alumni looking at this team, they have not made the playoffs. What is the first thing the Raiders look to in the offseason to improve?
Look, right now, it looks like their draft pick's going to be between 15 and 17. They've got to start looking for the draft. They've really got to start looking at spending their money more wisely in free agency. This defense needs holes filled. I think they do have some good defensive players here. John Gruden said that yesterday. But they need to fill holes on defense. I still don't think they have a number one wide receiver. Nelson Aguilar is going to be tough to re-sign. He had a really good year. People are going to want to pay him money. This is a huge year for wide receivers in the free agency market. There are going to be names out there that are number one bona fide receivers. Will they spend the money on them? And where will they spend the money defensively? And also, obviously, who's the defensive coordinator? Who's going to be the man put in charge now to lead this defense going forward and to try to make it much better than it's been?
Ed, I know you're a big fan of Dallas. Do you say Wade Phillips gets that job?
Cowboys, Heidi, I'm still waiting to see make the playoffs this weekend. Now, don't get me nervous time right now. Okay, got to beat the Giants and hope Philly can beat Washington with like a ninth string quarterback if Alex Smith doesn't play. Look, Wade Phillips runs a different defense than the Raiders have run, obviously, but Wade Phillips has proven himself at the highest levels. I think he'll be in the conversation. I would be surprised if he doesn't get a call and at least a chat I think there'll be 3 or 4 other people in there that are maybe closer to John Gruden, maybe have more experience with John Gruden. But when Wade Phillips is sitting in his house making it known that he'd like to be interested in that job, I think given his past, you at least have to make a phone call and talk to him about how he would bring that 3-4 to the Raiders and how it would look with the Raiders and what he would need to make it successful.
Great stuff, Ed. I appreciate you sharing all of that knowledge with us here on the Blitz, and we will get back to you here with more coming your way soon here on the Vegas Nation Blitz. The answer is C, Todd Christensen. Waller has caught 98 passes this season, eclipsing Christensen's 95 catches in 1986. Welcome back to the Vegas Nation Blitz. It's Heidi Fang here. Now we are joined with our NFL writer, Adam Hill, who's going to get us caught up on the AFC playoff picture. Adam, what do you have for us?
Yeah, there's a lot still to be decided here in the AFC. With 1 week left in the season, most seasons we have a good idea of who's going to be who's going to be in, who's going to be out. This year, not so much. There's a bunch of teams still fighting for those last positions, and it's going to be chaos, I think, in Week 17. That extra wild card has really added a lot of intrigue to what's going on here. But let's start. The divisions have been decided except for the AFC South. So you've got Kansas City in the 1 seed for sure. Buffalo looks like they're going to be the 2 as long as they get that win at home. The Steelers fighting there for the 3rd spot, the AFC North champions. AFC South, either Titans or Colts. They're both tied. Titans will be into that spot if they get a win. If they lose, the Colts can get in there by beating the Jaguars. The Colts also could get into the wild card, but there's a big but here. That is that the Colts do not control their own destiny. The Colts are going to need help if they win against the Jaguars, which you would expect that they would do. They're also going to need either the Dolphins, Ravens, or Browns to lose next week. If one of those teams lose, then the Colts could step in. The Titans could also step into that wild card if one of those teams lose. But all 3 of those teams, the Ravens, Browns, and Dolphins, control their own destiny. Dolphins play at Buffalo. That's the toughest game of any of those teams in the mix. They're going to go up to Buffalo, and Buffalo's still trying to play for that 2 seed, which doesn't really matter that much this year, but they're still trying to fight for that 2 seed. So the Dolphins up against it a little bit after that dramatic win over the Raiders. But we'll see how this all plays out. The bottom line is all of these teams need to win to keep their hopes alive. And a couple of them, mostly the Colts, need help from somebody else. The other 3 control their own destiny. So we'll see how that all shakes out. But one thing to keep in mind, none of those scenarios involve the Raiders. They have fallen out of contention, no longer able to get into the playoffs this year. So 16th time out of the last 17 years, the Raiders will finish with a non-winning record. They want to change that next year for sure. But while we look to the future with the Raiders possible, let's also take a look at their past, our moment in Raiders history with great quarterback Ken Stabler.
In 1968, the Raiders selected quarterback Ken Stabler in the 2nd round of the NFL draft. The left-handed quarterback would not join the team until 1970. By the time he was done playing for the Silver and Black, Stabler was their leader in touchdowns, passing yards, and completions. Current quarterback Derek Carr now holds the record for touchdowns and passing yards. In his career as a Raider, Stabler secured the team's first Lombardi Trophy with their win at Super Bowl 11 over the Vikings. In that year, Stabler was the NFL's leader in touchdowns and passer rating. Stabler was also a 4-time Pro Bowler, the NFL's Offensive Player of the Year, and NFL MVP in 1974. During his career as the Raiders' starting quarterback, Stabler was involved in several plays that went down into football lore: Ghost to the Post, Sea of Hands, and Holy Roller. Following the Holy Roller play, in which Stabler fumbled, Pete Banaszak pushed the ball forward, and Casper ultimately recovered the fumble, scoring the game-winning touchdown, the NFL adopted the Ken Stabler rule, which restricts advancing of the football by the offense after the 2-minute warning in a half or overtime, or on 4th down at any time during the game. In March 1980, Stabler was traded to the Houston Oilers. He would finish his NFL career with the Saints in 1984. He died in 2015 at the age of 69 after a battle with prostate cancer. Following his death, Snake was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame by legendary Raiders coach John Madden. And that'll do it for this moment in Raiders history.
Stay on the winning page with Fan Fave Las Vegas Review Journal. to receive Vegas Nation content, plus breaking news, local entertainment, and lifestyle coverage. For only 99 cents a week, you'll get home delivery plus unlimited access to LVRJ.com. However you like it, whenever you like it. Award-winning content, all at your fingertips. Subscribe today at mylvrj.com/superfan.
Our Vegas Nation podcast keep you up to date with all things Raiders. Get your week going with First and 10 on Mondays featuring Sam Gordon and Vinny Bonsignore.
Who you can count on to make a big play when you need one.
Wednesdays, Heidi Fang brings you in-depth interviews with Raiders players and personalities.
You know it's a great challenge.
On Fridays, get your dose of Raiders talk and musings from Ed Graney and Adam Hill with unsportsmanlike conduct.
Should there be any discipline? No. People are going to get it, and that's fine.
Vegas Nation, fast takes, smart coverage.
Welcome back to the Vegas Nation Blitz. It's Heidi Fang here, and I'm joined with Sam Gordon, our Raiders beat writer as well. He's going to dig a little bit deeper here into the 26-25 loss that the Raiders suffered at the hands of the Miami Dolphins, with Ryan Fitzmagic coming in to carve up the Raiders in the final stanza of the game. Sam, we're going to talk a little bit about that and also what it means for the Raiders here down the stretch as we look at this 26-25 loss. Sam, what do you have for us here in terms of the numbers? Break it down.
Hey, Heidi, thank you. First and foremost, thank you for having me. I went with the Clint Eastwood theme today, the good, bad, and the ugly from the Raiders' loss to the Miami Dolphins. So let's start with the good, Heidi. The good would be Darren Waller, who had another 5 catches for 112 yards on Saturday. That gives him 537 yards over the last 4 games, and that's the second most by a tight end during a 4-game span in NFL history, trailing only former New Orleans Saints tight end Jimmy Graham, who had 548 receiving yards in 2013. So he continues to amaze and be one of the best players at any position in the NFL, over 1,000 yards this year for the second consecutive season, and en route to an All-Pro honor as well as his Pro Bowl honor. Then we'll go with the bad. The Raiders allowed Dolphins quarterback Ryan Fitzpatrick, the aforementioned Ryan Fitzpatrick, who you mentioned came off the bench for Tua. He came off the bench and threw for 182 yards in the fourth quarter. That's the most passing yards in the fourth quarter in a victory by a non-starting quarterback since 2005. And ready, Heidi, for the ugly? This, according to the Associated Press, teams in the NFL starting drives inside their own 25-yard line in the final 20 seconds when facing a deficit of between 1 and 3 points were 0-120 since the year 2000. That until the Dolphins beat the Raiders on Saturday night.
Wow. There you have the numbers. But like you said, Sam, there were some positives. But as we look ahead, I want to get into now what we can expect from this team here in the final game as they look to close out on a positive against the Broncos. What do you have for us there, Sam?
Well, this is a game, Heidi, where the Raiders defense, if you look back to the meeting in November, the Raiders defense actually played pretty well. It turned in one of their best games of the season. In that meeting, they allowed the Broncos 313 total yards. That's the second fewest they've allowed in a game this season. They only allowed fewer yards than that in the Atlanta Falcons game. And then against Denver, the first time around, they had a season-high 5 takeaways. For some context there, they have 10 in their other 14 games combined and none in the last 3 games. So we will have more on that matchup on Sunday. But if the Raiders do want to end their season on a high note with a victory, they're facing the right opponent in the Denver Broncos.
And that'll do it for our show today. Thank you so much to everybody here for tuning in. I'm your host, Heidi Fang, sitting in for Cassie Soto, who will be back for our game day show on Sunday. That airs Cox Your View, Channel 14, 9 a.m. here on the Pacific Coast. Don't forget to tune in for that. Also, check out VegasNation.com and download the Vegas Nation app to keep up with all things happening here with your Raiders. We have you covered. And so for the whole Vegas Nation team, we hope you guys go out there and have a great New Year's. Be safe, everybody.